Hello, my name is Emily, and today I'm speaking with nationally recognized legal expert in the denominational trust clauses and religious property disputes, attorney Dan Dalton. How are you today, Dan?
Hey, I'm doing great, Emily. It's great to see you again.
Good to see you as well. So, Dan, it's been a while since we last spoke and updated our audience on the status of the law regarding religious property disputes involving local churches that are leaving a denomination and seeking to retain their properties. You have been busy helping local churches in several former mainstream denominations exit their denominations and retain their properties. Additionally, you have been actively speaking to law students and campuses across the United States about religious property disputes. Starting with the law schools, can you talk about the schools you're speaking at and the issues raised by students and faculty at those events?
Yes, Emily, it's been an interesting time. I've had an opportunity to speak at a number of law schools, from Wayne State University here in Detroit to the University of Detroit. Most recently at Notre Dame Law School in South Bend. I've spoken at St. John's in New York City. I've spoken at Toro and Queens, and I'll be speaking at Yale University in just a couple of weeks. Um, there is a resurgence of interest in this area of the law from students. I think it follows a trend of more of a resurgence on campuses involving religious matters and people. I think students, especially looking for are more spiritual and are looking for more answers to spiritual questions, which kind of give rise to these issues related to the law as well. So it's an interesting time on campus. I mean, there's hundreds of students that come to these events that I would have never guessed that there's that much of an interest in this. So it's good. It certainly is more people that want to talk about this than typical land use and zoning matters. But it's all good stuff, and I'm looking forward to speaking on more campuses on the issues as well.
Great. So let's move on to the denominations. What is going on with the Episcopal Church?
Well, the Episcopal Church continues to spiral. More churches are closing. The average church size is 38 people, and we've put in the show notes a link to a size of average churches and whatnot. And that's 30 people in 2020. So that's kind of before COVID's, hit. It continues to go further and further lower. A number of Episcopal churches are closing. There's not many folks in the seminaries right now. It's very much contracting, and that denomination continues to spiral. Financially, however, they're doing well. The Trinity Church, or the Episcopal Church in the United States, is really funded by the Trinity Church Corporation, which owns about 150 acres of southern Manhattan. So think of the World Trade Center and all of that area. All that ground is owned by the Trinity Church, Episcopal Church Corporation, and that kind of very much funds most of the local churches as well. So Episcopal Church is doing very poorly as a denomination on a trajectory scale, but very well on a financial scale.
I'm curious about what's going on with the Korean Presbyterian Church of America and the Presbyterian Church USA. It'd be great to catch up on the latest developments.
Well, those two entities, the two Presbyterian churches, are really kind of at a crossroads right now, kind of like we were at in the United States. Things are changing quickly. You have AI, you have financial markets changing, you have political markets that are changing, you have campuses that are changing, you have a lot of things in the last several months that used to take generations to change, and several months have changed, and it's been rather dramatic, and it's affected both Presbyterian denominations. I was just recently at a group of a conference of conservative types that stayed within the denominations, and they've just resigned themselves to the fact that that's just the way things are, and they know the church is dying. They know that people aren't coming. They know that their church is going to die one day, and they're just kind of writing it out. It's a pretty sad time to be a pastor and a member in the Presbyterian USA and the Korean Presbyterian Church of America denominations. Those churches just continue to get lower and lower and lower. More members are leaving. They're going to other churches, whether they're independent or other more Orthodox churches that are growing. But the PCUSA and the Korean Presbyterian Church of America, those churches, those denominations are just really doing poorly right now.
What's the current status of religious property disputes within the United Methodist Church?
The United Methodist Church went through an interesting time, as we kind of talked before on these videos, where you had that gracious separation type period ended in December 2023. In 24, there was a number of conferences that allowed churches to leave. Not all, but half of them had either a process or just allowed churches to leave, basically using the church closure process and assuring members that something new would come up at General Conference in 2024. That didn't happen. So then they said, well, something will come out with the annual conference, and that didn't happen, or a jurisdictional conference, and that didn't happen. But over time in 2024, at least in the first 6 months, there was a number of conferences that let churches leave. In October of 2024, the Judicial Council, to no one's surprise that's been following this, issued an order saying no more. We're not going to allow you to use the church closure process to let churches leave. So with that, the United Methodist Church has very much closed the door on churches leaving. As a result of that, you're going to see, and you have seen, and we've seen a number of churches in litigation because there's no way out now. They trusted their pastors, their bishops, their district superintendents that said, stay in the denomination, we'll find a pathway out. And there is no path out. And so the only thing they can do is litigate. So we're seeing cases in South Carolina, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, Maine, all over the United States on these matters. Some have been successful, some haven't. Some are still in process. A lot of this always depends on state law, whether the state law is more favorable or not favorable to these denominational disputes. There's been actions in legislatures, like in Maryland, where there's a state statute that upholds the trust clause. There is currently pending legislation to remove that statute. There's a same movement is afoot in Wisconsin and some other states as well. So there's been movement moving forward on those matters. But again, the United Methodist Church, you can see in the show notes as well, giving is down, attendance is down, seminary attendance is down. That denomination is very much spiraling as well with that.
What is next for local churches who wish to leave denominations and retain their properties?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One is that there needs to be a recognition by the local churches that their denominations are now down for the count. They're not, totally out of the picture, but they're not doing well. So if you're thinking about leaving, now might be a good time to do so, because resource-wise, these denominations, in conferences don't have the ability that they used to have to litigate these matters. There was a claim that insurance was covering these things for one of the conferences, but we found that just isn't true. I mean, insurance companies don't cover quiet title matters and denominational dispute matters, and that's pretty clear. So you're looking at a different set of pictures, I guess, with respect to these conferences and to whether they can fund litigation. You're also seeing a tremendous amount of growth in independent churches. What we have seen over and over and over again is churches who have left denominations have grown. Churches that have stayed in these mainline denominations are dying and continue to die. And again, most recent thing with the PCUSA is a clear indicator that it's just an acceptance that they're going to die, which is really kind of sad. But there is a pathway out for a number of these local churches, depending on what state you're in, to leave. And if there is good leadership and there's a commitment on the leaders and on the members to leave, there's a pathway forward. And we are helping those churches primarily just in litigation matters right now to assist them transitioning out of the denominations. So there is hope. It saddens me that when you talk to some of these denominational folks and pastors who have stayed in denominations thinking that things would change and heard promises from their bishops that there would change and there isn't any, and they feel stuck. That's terrible, and it's a horrible position to be in. But there's hope and there's ways out. You just have to have a good leader. You have to have that determination and that commitment, and you can find your pathway out. And that's primarily that's what we're doing right now is helping a number of churches out throughout the United States in these similar type of matters. So there is hope, and I guess that's one message I'd like to have with this.
Well, as always, thank you for the update, Dan. There's a lot happening in the church world these days. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more updates. See the information Dan mentioned in the show notes. And please reach out to us if you have any questions regarding how your local church can leave the denomination and retain their property. Have a great day.